Hi, this is Josh from Federal Signal Tech Support, and right now we are going to set up a security timer, or in other words, a two-step gun lock. So let's say, under normal circumstances, you would press the gun lock button, it will activate that gun lock relay. However, if you want an extra form of security, oftentimes what would need to be done is have a two-step sequence. Instead of just that one button, you would have to press two buttons. So in this example, we're going to use the dim button here as our second button. So without further ado, let's set all this up. So first things first, what we need to do is create a virtual. So under additional inputs, I would just click virtual 1. However, if that's not available, you can use any of the other 15 virtuals as there's 16 here. So if virtual 1 isn't used, you just use any other. Go to our properties tab on the top right, your icon with the arrow coming out. And let's rename this gun button pressed. So this is going to be like our trigger. So what we need to do, make sure this is set to push on off. So we are good there. Now what we need to do is set up our gun button. So if you haven't already, oftentimes you use the bottom right for your gun lock button. So let's use that. So I already have it named here as gun. Go to your properties icon on the top right. Make sure that it's set as momentary and has a delay off timer. Oftentimes they use the default 8 seconds, but you could set it to whatever value you want. You do 10 seconds, you do 15 seconds, 20 seconds, but we're going to use the default, which is 8 seconds. So we'll leave it at 8 seconds. So that is done. Now we need to go over to the remote activation tab on that gun button. So to do that, go over here where my cursor is to remote activation. And then for the on position, make sure it's red, have gun button press toggles on, like so. And then what we need to do now is go to the off position on the gun lock button. So click off here, and this button should turn blue, indicating that's off. Assuming you're still under remote activation, just go ahead and click toggles off on the drop down for gun button pressed. So for on the gun remote activation, gun button press should be toggling on, and for off, the gun button press should be toggling off. So that is done. Now what we need to do is set up our dim button. So what we need to do, we need to go to our dim button here, or whatever button you plan on using. We need to send a dependency here. Looks like there's dependencies here already. We're just going to get rid of those, but yours would probably be blank. So let's add a group here. And for the drop down, I would just do gun button pressed is off. Like so. So now it should have gun button presses off for the dim. Now what we need to do is clone the dim button. So to do this, right click the dim button and then click create feature. So now we cloned the dim button. So now what we need to do is go to our properties icon again, top right. Should be on button dependencies already. So what we need to do is just set this to gun button pressed is on. And then for our button properties, I would just rename it security timer. And so this is very important. We need to make sure that the security timer clone is basically matching the programming for the gun. So let's change this to momentary. Because remember, the gun lock is a momentary button. And make sure the delay off is matching however you have it on the gun button. So 8 seconds. And if you want beep enable, that's fine too. So that is done. So this is where you would set the gun relay. So now you close that out. And if you're still on the security timer clone, go ahead and go to your relays. And this is where you would activate whatever relay you have set for the gun relay. I already have it set here. So I'm just gonna set this. If you click on it, set the pattern to on. So now it should show whatever relay you have, green, and STDY for steady. And then last but not least, what you need to do is rearrange your priorities. So to do this, go to your system on the top, and then priority settings. We need to rearrange a couple priorities. So first things first, always make sure ignition is in the number 1 spot. And then have your gun or gun lock button as this one here. So have that first on the list. Then your security timer. So go ahead and move that if you haven't already. And then your gun button press virtual. It would have to be in this order or else it won't work properly. Like so. So if everything's set correctly, you just click device, program device to dump the updated configuration to the amp. And then you would have that 2-step gun lock. So if you have any questions, feel free to call our tech support line at 1-800-433-9132, option 1. And thanks for watching, and until next time, see you later.